This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Good evening, residents of Gander, candidates, and viewers. My name is Hannah DeYoung, Chair of the Gander and Area Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of the Chamber, I welcome you to the 2021 Gander Municipal Election Forum. The Chamber is very pleased to partner with Rogers TV to bring you this forum. Before we dive into the forum, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge the territory on which we gather as the ancestral unceded homelands of the Beothuk and the island of Newfoundland as the ancestral unceded homelands of the Mi'kmaq and Beothuk. Tonight, we will hear from the 8 candidates vying for the 6 councillor positions in the Gander municipal election. We are encouraged by the level of participation from the candidates, the audience here tonight, the number of questions submitted, and you, the viewers at home. And based on the energy from rehearsal, I think we're going to have a good night. This is a healthy sign that people are interested in committing to seeing the town of Gander grow and prosper. The newly elected council will face many challenges in the 4 years ahead of them. Growing the economy of Gander while operating with the best interests of the people will be paramount to success. Gander is making great strides in economic development, and this new council must seize the opportunity to continue to move Gander forward. Gander is full of potential, and with vision, determination, and a community working together, we can continue to make our town strong and vibrant. This evening, I am pleased to have Randy Connors of VOCM Stingray and the Chamber First Vice Chair, Brad Eisen, as the second panelist. Questions for the candidates were submitted to the Chamber through its membership and by residents of our community. Earlier this evening, a draw was held for the speaking and seating order of the candidates. As a result of that draw, the candidates and their numbers are as follows. Number 1, we have Sheldon Hancock. Number 2, we have Tara Pollitt. Number 3, we have Pat Woodford. Number 4, we have Otis Warren. Number 5, we have Gina Brown. Number 6, we have Bettina Ford. Number 7, we have Oz Fudge. And number 8, we have Wilson Hoff. The rules for the forum are very simple. Each candidate will have 1 minute for opening remarks, and we'll start with number 1. There will be 8 questions then from the panelists, 1 to each candidate with a minute to respond, and then each will have 30 seconds for a rebuttal from the other candidates. The order of the candidate questions is a little different this year, and we'll conduct in the following order. So candidate 1 will answer, then 5, then 2, then 6, then 3, then 7, then 4, and then 8. This will allow each candidate an equal opportunity to respond to the questions. The candidates to the immediate left of the candidate answering will have 30 seconds to respond. After the panelists' questions, we will take a short station break, and then we will move into audience questions. So we'll have 6 questions that we're going to take from the floor of those present today. Questions will be directed to 1 candidate, and so we have 30 seconds to ask the question, and then the candidate will have 1 minute to respond. Audience names will be drawn from those dropped into the bag at the registration table as they came in. Candidates will then have 1 minute each for their closing remarks, and we'll start in reverse order of the opening remarks, starting with number 8. So thank you so much for your attention. Let's dive into the panelist questions.
Thanks, Hannah. Mr. Hancock, how you doing?
Good. Doing good.
That wasn't the question. There are worrying signals in the provincial health accord that James Pape Memorial Hospital may have its capacity reduced. So we're wondering, what would you or what could you do to prevent that from happening?
Wait, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, sorry, it wasn't a question.
No. I skipped a key step this evening. So the good news is that the candidates didn't make the biggest blunder.
Give us a chance.
That's right. I just wanted to take the pressure off. So we're going to back up. We are going to start with Sheldon, but we're going to start with opening remarks. So Sheldon, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. So I'd like to thank the Chamber, the Evangel, Pentecostal Church, and Rogers TV for this opportunity tonight. I'd like to thank my nominators and the incumbents of the Council for their enormous support and encouragement since my candidacy. I also want to thank my family for their never-ending support of yet another adventure. I've lived in Gander for 21 years. It was here I met my wife, Melanie, and we have 2 pretty cool kids. I own a cybersecurity consulting company. I'm a certified information system security professional. I have a background in business continuity and disaster recovery planning, and I was chair of the Gander and Area Chamber of Commerce from March of 2020 to March of 2021. I will bring a fresh new perspective to Council. Gander is on a trajectory towards an enormous economic success. Now is the time for increased momentum and further strategic alignment in business, aerospace, defense, and healthcare. The past Council has made significant progress, but there is much more left to be done. On September 28th, I ask that you bring fresh new business perspective to Council and vote for Sheldon Hancock.
Thank you, Sheldon. All right, Tara, you're up.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome, everyone. My name is Tara Pollard. I'm seeking re-election in the upcoming municipal election. Being born and raised in Gander, living here most of my life, I see this community as one of the best to raise a family and build a life. My husband Bob and I have raised 2 beautiful children, Robin and Alex. It has been my honor serving the citizens of Gander as your deputy mayor. I've enjoyed my last few years on council amid challenges. I've met some wonderful people and built some relationships to which I will cherish a lifetime. I'm proud of the work that I've been a part of the last 4 years, but there's much left to do. Partnerships to build and nurture, issues in healthcare to resolve, and to ensure economic diversity and growth. The new council must continue to attract young families, continue to be a partner to grow the aerospace industry, and continue to be an inclusive community so that everyone feels their worth. I want to thank you and be the best. I want Gander to be the best it can be, and I want to be a part of that team. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Pat, over to you.
Thank you, Hannah. My name is Pat Woodford. Running for municipal office is not something to take lightly. It is a critical job and a very serious commitment, even more so as we come out of a pandemic. This commitment I am ready to make and a step that I am eager to take. I am running for re-election because I care about our community, I care about our residents, and I want to be part of shaping Gander's future. During the past 4 years, I've been part of a decision-making team that saw many improvements within the town of Gander. The passion and love that I have for the town of Gander was used as the voice of the people of Gander at the council table to make our community stronger for the future. As a councillor, I will always put the best interest of the people of Gander first. I am committed to working hard to make Gander the best place in our province to live, work, and raise a family. I am results-driven, and anyone who knows me would know that I have a track record of teamwork and getting things done. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Otis?
My name is Otis Warren, and I'm running for a seat on council. I would like to thank the Chamber of Commerce, Rogers TV, and the Pentecostal Church for hosting this event tonight. Good evening to all viewers, and a special hello to my father at home. I have lived in Gander for 55 years and have enjoyed the benefits of living in this beautiful town. There are many opportunities and challenges that face Gander, such as health care, the economy, future of the airport, maintaining services, ensuring a green future for our residents, and keeping taxes in check. I will work hard with all stakeholders to ensure a bright future for the town of Gander. Thank you for your support, and on September 28th, vote Otis Warren for council.
Thank you, Otis. Gina, your turn.
Thank you. My name is Gina Brown. I was elected to Gander Town Council in 2017. Initially, I was the chair of Economic Development and Tourism, and then I became the chair of Finance. And I've also been a committee member of Public Works and Services as well as Community Services. And I have to be honest, the last 4 years has been extremely rewarding, but it has also had its challenges. Us as a council, we have overseen completion of a new wastewater treatment plant, secured funding for a $6.7 million soccer and track sports facility, completed a new 5-year strategic plan, as well as a 10-year municipal plan, prioritized an independent organizational and operational review. And we've done all of this and so much more in the midst of a pandemic. And for me, on a personal side, while I fought a breast cancer diagnosis. And through it all, I can say that I've done my best. I've listened, I've educated myself, I attended all the meetings, I considered the perspectives, I debated the issues, and I have made my decisions as impartially and as fair as I can to do the most good for as many people as I can. And it has been at times at my expense.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Bettina, your turn.
Thanks. Hi there. My name is Bettina Ford. As many of you know, I served on council for 8 years, elected when I was just 21. I'm not 21 anymore. That first year was a really steep learning curve, developing and approving budgets, learning the Municipalities Act. There were processes and procedures and policies, bylaws, regulations, and contracts, learning how to maneuver within the system to get stuff done. Now, I chose to leave council chambers 16 years ago to focus on starting a family. Now, at a different stage in my life, I see the town through a completely different lens. I have children in the school system, aging parents navigating healthcare, relationships with businesses and organizations, and experiences with core municipal services as a homeowner. All of these better equip me to be an effective decision maker. So I'm offering myself as a candidate with new perspective, municipal leadership experience, and the know-how to jump right in. Thanks.
Thank you, Bettina. Oz, your turn.
First, I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce and Rogers TV for holding this event tonight, this forum. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Oswald Fudge, Oz for short. I was your municipal police officer for over 30 years. During that time, not only did I enjoy my time there, and I guess some of you wished I didn't enjoy it so much, but I devoted a lot of my free time volunteering. SPCA, Torch Run for Special Olympics, coaching at St. Paul's and Gander Collegiate, just to name a few. Once my time was up for policing, I felt I still had a lot to give in service to this community. So I decided to run for council in 2017 and was successful. I've enjoyed my last 4 years, and I am proud of the work we have accomplished during that time. I am seeking your support for the next 4 years. Vote Oz.
Thanks, Oz. Wilson, you're last.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me thank the Gander Area Chamber of Commerce. My name is Wilson Howe. Secondly, Chamber of Commerce, Rogers TV, and Evangel Pentecostal Church, and any others involved in arranging the venue tonight. Secondly, I extend my sincere thanks to the management and staff of the town of Gander for their contribution to our civic well-being every day. And to you, ladies and gentlemen, please accept my sincere thanks for continuing providing the glue that binds our community together, which helps make Gander such a wonderful place to live and raise a family. As a professional chartered accountant and notary public and a long-term resident of the town, I believe in sharing my time, talents, and treasure for the betterment of our community through working collaboratively in an objective and balanced manner with the various organizations and groups in our town. I humbly ask for your support on September 28th. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, let's try this again, shall we? I'm going to turn it over to the panelists to start these questions.
Hey, Sheldon, sorry, buddy, jumped the gun, but I'm going to read the question again. So, Sheldon, there are some worrying signals in the provincial health accord that James Pate Memorial Hospital may have its capacity reduced. What would you do, or what could you do to prevent that from happening?
Well, my biggest concern about this was the timing of Newfoundland Health Accord coming out and deciding to do that study on it. I mean, right before municipal elections were starting up, it seemed like it was causing a little bit of a frenzy. We need to do consultation. We need to speak to the public. We need to speak to the Newfoundland Health Accord. We need to stress to them how important the James Pate Memorial Regional Health Centre is to Gander. Since 2001, we've had a 17% increase in population here in Gander. We are a growing town. We have, there's enormous business opportunities happening here right now with mining and resources. We know that this town is growing. There are a lot of things happening. We need to keep these services here. This needs to be a level 2 trauma center. We need to make sure that our nurses are taken care of. We need to make sure that Newfoundland Health Accord understands that they cannot take away these services from a growing community to another community that is potentially not growing as rapidly as we are. We have young families here. We need family practices to look in and take care of us. So,
thank you, Sheldon.
Consultation.
All right, so now you each have 30 seconds to respond. We'll start with Tara.
One of the things we have to consider with the health accord is the fact that the health accord itself, the organizers would like the RHAs to figure things out between them. Now, I don't know about you, but I want what we have and more besides at James Payton. We have an airport that gives us pretty quick access to St. John's in terms of the Janeway team. I think obstetrics and gynecology needs to be in Gander, along with many other services.
Thank you, Tara. All right, Pat.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to respond to this. The Newfoundland Health Accord, if you're not aware of it, is suggesting that there would only be one hospital left in central Newfoundland. And they asked Gander and Grand Falls to get together and decide where they wanted the hospital. I really think the provincial government has dropped the ball on this. If they're leading the way, they should be making decisions, not ask the citizens. And I ask you, the citizens of Gander, we've got to stand up and lend our voice to let them know we're not prepared to lose our hospital.
Thank you, Pat. Otis, 30 seconds.
Well, I hear the question, but do we really know that that is what's going on within the healthcare system right now? Perhaps we should involve all parties and see where the governments, both federal and provincial, are going with this. If it's a funding matter, if it's a union matter, if it's any number of things that's going on. But I think all parties should get together, should talk and identify if there are problems and rectify them.
Thank you. Gina.
It's certainly a priority for Council. Anytime we hear anything about healthcare and the possibility of any services being removed, we're actively on this as a Council. We have already started to strategize, develop a working group. In terms of getting into the specifics of the strategy, it certainly wouldn't be pertinent for me to do that now when you have competing communities. But it's going to be extremely important for us to lobby and to make sure that any of the concerns, the objective data, to have as much here.
Thank you. Bettina.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, between the Health Accord and the Provincial Economic Recovery Team, big changes are coming to this province. So I think Council really needs to be positioned well and to have the right relationships that we need to advocate on behalf of our citizens and really lobby. I think where Council is going to need to be is in the frame of mind to be able to present alternatives, because changes will happen. So we have to find new and innovative ways of serving our residents and meeting, the fiscal situation that we're in.
Thank you. Oz, 30 seconds.
For me, I'm a little bit upset with the way the provincial government has done this. They go Corner Brook, St. John's, Labrador, Gander, Grand Falls. Here's a bone, they'll fight over it. And that's wrong. We have an absolutely fantastic hospital down there. We need to fight for it. We have a committee set up, which the mayor is heading. But it's going to count on everybody that's here and everybody that's watching on TV. We're the ones that's going to have to change the mind of government.
Thank you. Wilson.
Thank you. Great question. Our hospital is a sacred ground in Gander. Obviously, we need to have a collaborative committee to see where the board of the Gander Hospital is in relation to the general board of the hospital at Grand Falls. And we need to work with our provincial MHA. And I'm not saying that we haven't, but we need more input. We need to build a case that Gander needs to stay open. We need to develop centers of excellence in medical facilities.
Thank you.
So that they'll want to keep it open.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next question from the panelists.
Gina, we're concerned about the number of health professionals who come to Gander, only to leave again in a year or two. If elected, what will you do to ensure everything possible is done to attract new professionals, and how would you encourage them to stay here?
When it comes to health professionals specific or doctors? Health professionals? We're definitely actively into the issue. Firstly, we have an in-house working group that's chaired by the mayor, and it includes our MHA as well as physicians in the area. And certainly one of the topics that is discussed is how to recruit various healthcare providers. As well, Council is also part of the Central Health Community Advisory Committee, and while certainly, once again, matters of health are discussed, so is doctor retention. One of priorities for us is the impact on making sure that we try to access young professionals when they're in the schooling part, when they're trying to make decisions about ultimately where they're going to go, where they're going to settle, where they're going to make their home. When they get here, we have to make sure that they feel welcomed, that their children, if they have any, have the recreational facilities that they need, and that their spouses find jobs.
Thank you, Gina. We'll now have 30 seconds for each to respond. We'll start with Bettina this time.
Great, thank you. Gina, I think you and I would work very well together on council. A lot of those were my notes as well. I mean, when it comes to recruiting professionals into a community and health professionals who really have a choice to work anywhere in the world at this point, we need to make Gander a place where they would choose to live. So certainly salaries are part of it and medical facilities and the professional side, but ensuring that they feel welcome in Gander, that they have places to shop, for leisure, where they're comfortable, places to worship, to make the community very welcoming and inclusive.
Thank you. Oz?
That's one of the things COVID has taught us, is that people enjoy their leisure time. If you're working hard, you need that time. And I think that what we are doing, along with the committee, retaining committee for doctors and medical professionals, but we're also looking at that type of activity with the soccer field that we are in the process of building, with what we have here, Gander Lake, all the softball, baseball diamonds, everything that we have.
Thank you.
I see you're looking at me.
Wilson.
Thank you. I think we need to have great liaison and collaboration with the doctors, the medical profession, as well as the hospital, to see how we can make it attractive for doctors. Some of the doctors obviously use Gander and other medical facilities in the province as a stepping stone to get certified in Canada and moving on to Ontario, Montreal, so on, where some of their relatives are. But the only way that we can ensure that they're here, I think, is developing centers of excellence that ensure that they will want to stay here. And the lifestyle is great.
Thank you. Sheldon.
I think in the short term, we keep fighting the fight. We keep working the way that we're working now to try to get doctors in. I think in the long term, with the potential that we have here in Gander, is something part of a strategic plan that we need to consider that into. We want our businesses to grow. We want more schools. We want better health care. There's a lot of different things that we want, but that has to be part of the equation for us to be a sustainable and a better community as we move forward.
Thank you. Tara.
For a town of its size, Gander has a lot of multicultural residents. And I think that a lot of the doctors who come here may feel that we could do more to nurture the multiculturalism in Gander so that those physicians would feel like they had a place to belong. I think that's a huge factor. And certainly Council has worked with the Multicultural Society, and we will, hopefully if I'm on Council, we'll continue to do so.
Thank you. Pat, 30 seconds.
Well, one thing my colleagues haven't talked about here is many of these health professionals that come in are married. So they've got spouses, they've got families. We have to make Gander a lot more inviting place for these people and these families to establish roots here. Maybe they won't want to leave so fast then if we're a lot more inviting. So that's one of the things that we have been working on during the past 4 years, and I'd like to have the opportunity to continue working on that with the new council.
Thank you. Otis.
All valid points that everybody's raised. I think recruitment probably at medical schools could be a big thing in terms of promoting Gander with our recreational facilities, our services, the great outdoors, those types of things. Obviously, with foreign doctors, the people coming here, we're not as culturally diverse as, say, Ontario or Quebec. And certainly we need to do whatever we can to encourage people and involve them in the community when they come.
Thank you. All right, next question.
Tara, how would you increase support for individuals with disabilities, for physical and mental health concerns and addiction struggles to ensure proper resources are available locally within our community?
So, as part of our strategy with affordable housing and the Housing and Homeless Coalition, I've been a member of the Community Advisory Board on Housing and Homelessness. There's been several discussions with stakeholders on issues of food insecurity, housing insecurity, emergency supports. These are all factors in helping the less fortunate. Those with disabilities, we need to increase our accessibility, not only to local businesses, but try and build more accessible housing. That's one big thing that we've heard, is more accessible housing.
All right, thank you, Tara. Pat.
During the past 4 years on council, we have started initiatives and started to work with more closely with people with both physical and mental disabilities to make our community more inviting. It was an eye-opener to find out that we're not as accessible as we think we are. Sidewalks that need to be lowered, maybe cut down, things like this, just simple little things. So this is where we have to start, with open lines of communication with these groups to find out what they really need.
Thank you. Otis.
Well, certainly we need to make the town accessible for all people with disabilities, whatever form their disability takes. You know, the involvement of community health, of the town, affordable housing, all of those things are very important to helping people who are not I guess, as good or not as good, but as equipped as most of us in society are. And we should do everything we can to support them.
Gina.
Affordable housing is a huge issue in people with various mental illnesses who are challenged to find employment or trying to find affordable homes. One of the things that we did as a council was develop a tax policy with a local, with the Pentecostal church actually, which allowed them then to look at constructing low-income housing for some of our most vulnerable people, and looking at regulation policies with our developers so that it becomes more affordable to make those kind of homes.
Thank you. Bettina.
Hi. So, I mean, Gander is a really affluent town, and I think sometimes it's hard to see the things that we don't live, but these issues are real. I think there may be, in neighborhoods, a bit of resistance and people not wanting certain services in their neighborhood and not in my backyard. So I think we have to try and find a way to move beyond that. And just generally, I mean, our community, society, we will be judged against how we treat our most vulnerable citizens. And Gander is a good place to be, so I'd like to think we can rise to that occasion.
Thank you. Oz.
It's been on Council's radar, and my fellow councillors have already mentioned it. For me, it looks like it all reverts back to the same thing. Hospital, we have to have the affordable housing, we have to have the health care, we have to have everything if we want to include everybody in this community. And one of it is definitely the health care. Number two is the affordable housing. And that was the things that were stressed with us in meetings that we've had. So that's where I'm looking.
Thank you. Wilson.
Hi, thank you. Working with the associations of the various disability groups, we get to understand what their needs are. Some of them are obvious. Some of our sidewalks here in town are 8 and 10 inches high. Even the cutouts where they could put wheelchairs up off the street are way too high, too dangerous. So we should work with them and see exactly what they want. And certainly for all areas of new construction, there should be a standard, and there is a standard, of course, that you must meet.
Thank you. Thank you. Sheldon.
It's very important for us as a town to work with all the different stakeholders, all the organizations that are doing a really good job in helping out with a lot of these issues. Open lines of communication and, you know, taking it piecework, piece at a time, work out the issues, develop our policies, and, you know, put solutions in place with the help of our community leaders.
Thank you. Next question.
Tina. How will you work to support local business and attract potential new business in the town of Gander?
Hi, thanks. Thank you for that question. I think in campaigning and hearing from local businesses and people who are in the business of business attraction and retention and expansion. You know, there are some issues facing the community. Lack of available land for development is certainly one of them. So that's something I think Council is really going to have to come to grips with and work with federal and provincial partners to try and make that land available. Certainly to have a competitive tax structure. Someone asked me the other day what trees had to do with bringing in business. So, I mean, you really have to have a balanced vibrant community where businesses will want to move, and so their families can live here, and so their families can thrive. But most of all, I mean, we have some serial entrepreneurs in Gander who are doing really amazing things, and there's so much opportunity. So I'd really like to see us work closely with them and the Chamber, and to hear from them on what it is that we can reasonably be doing to help support their growth and attraction.
Thank you.
Thanks.
30 seconds.
One of the things that we've heard from the local business community is the red tape that goes on. And I guess red tape is pretty well in any level of government. So we've been working as Economic Development Committee to try and get rid of some of that red tape. We've also been talking to the business community itself, getting their opinion on different things that we are doing. When we're changing our bylaws, when we're doing things that we need to do and it affects them, we are now contacting them, showing what we're doing, getting their opinion, and applying it to what we're doing.
Thank you. Wilson.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I think there's been a disconnect over the last several years between council and the business community, and certainly business attraction may have been an issue with certain businesses. I appreciate the consultative nature that council has carried on over the last several years, and look forward to working with the business community. They are a very large contributor to the tax base of this town. So we need to work collaboratively and cooperatively. Thank you.
Thank you. Sheldon.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to follow up on some of those suggestions because you guys are covering off on a lot of the topics. One of the key areas that I think there's a problem here is having a welcoming atmosphere for businesses coming into Gander. Right now, a lot of what I'm hearing from some companies is that Gander is not a welcoming town for new businesses coming in. It's definitely something we need to address. We need to address how the town hall is actually working with businesses. We need to work stronger with the Gander and Area Chamber of Commerce because they are our experts in the area in the lines of business.
Thank you. Tara.
The Town of Gander and the Development Committee have been working collaboratively to attract new business. We've built relationships with stakeholders, and we are identifying opportunities for businesses. One of the big things is the flow. We need to, and we are working on, how to navigate new businesses through the flows of regulations and policies. And we're always open to new things. We're always open to changes. We're always open to conversations.
Thank you. Pat.
Well, I'd like to challenge candidate Hoff, because I think over the last number of years we've broken down a lot of the barriers that were established by previous councils. We are a lot more inviting in the town council now for new businesses. We've established lines of communication with the Chamber of Commerce that weren't there before. There's a lot of talk back and forth between the business community and the town to make sure that we are on the right page and in the right track. So that's what I like to keep that going. We're moving in the right direction.
Thank you. Otis.
Well, I'd like to think that the town of Gander is doing everything it can to attract new business to the community and not putting any barriers in the way of development for business, for industry, for any service that may be required in the town. I mean, business is our future. If business does not grow in Gander, we're going to die. So we really, truly have to promote it any way we can.
Thank you. Gina, we'll end with you.
Land is an issue, and Council has dedicated over $1 million for expansion of Dickens to get more commercial land. As well, we're going to have to work with the federal government in order to look at the airport land and free up some Crown lands. Also, the communication with the business community is imperative. We've been working with that and looking at working with our regulations to improve that. And the other part is strategic investment. We need to be proactive and visionary in where we see future business opportunities and make sure that's where we're making investments.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question.
Thanks, Hannah. Pat, the federal and the provincial governments have provided some much-needed financial assistance to both businesses and individuals, especially over the last year and a half or so. But now some of these businesses are facing a shortage of workers, and in fact are facing a very difficult situation when it comes to continuation of operation of their businesses. Now, it's not necessarily a municipal issue, But if these businesses do close their doors, how will the town recoup lost taxes to maintain services and keep town employees?
Well, I think it does come back to be a municipal issue. So thank you for the question. I think as a municipal government, we need to work hand in hand with both the provincial government and the federal government to ensure that there are workers out there. Maybe it's increasing minimum wage to the workers. That will supply workers. However, it does have a negative impact on businesses as well. So I think we need to work hand in hand with our business community, our provincial and our federal governments to make this work. And I don't see it as just being a one-sided issue. It's a collaborative approach to making it work. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start the responses with Otis this time. You have 30 seconds.
I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there, but I was thinking one of the problems we have in attracting people to the town, I guess, if people are coming for service industries, local jobs, things like that, is affordable housing. And one of the things that I would like to see in Gander, I know there are issues with acquiring land and all of that, is maybe looking at the construction of smaller homes on smaller lots that are more affordable and would bring people into the community to be able to fill the shortage that currently exists in the labor market.
Thank you. Gina?
Yeah, I'll pick up on what Otis was saying. Affordable housing is especially important when you're looking at Gander and you're looking at the individuals who are going to support some of these industries, and you're looking at the service industry specifically, so that they can get here and they can afford to stay here. If you're looking at how to come up with the extra revenue if a business goes, unfortunately, has to stop, then obviously we're looking at situations of finding other places to find the revenue, which is going to be difficult, and cutting services, which is something no one wants to do.
Thank you. Bettina?
Thanks. I mean, labor shortage, it's big in Gander right now, and it's big on the provincial scene as well. A lot of discussions happening in the world where I work. Certainly being able to provide affordable housing is one of them. Affordable daycare is another, because someone working on minimum wage trying to provide daycare, that alone can be a tremendous financial burden. So making it easier for people to choose to work in Gander and providing the services that they need to make it easier to do so.
Thank you. Oz?
Very simple. We should be the voice of the local businesses to the federal and provincial government and get rid of CERB. It's done. We don't need it anymore. Jobs are coming back in major style, but we still have a lot of people that are sitting home receiving $2,000 a month. Why would you come into work? We need to put pressure on the federal government, provincial government to get rid of it.
Thank you. Wilson?
Thank you. The issue with employees today is provincial-wide. Every community you go, even the outports, they cannot get the employees that they need. The only one of the solutions that I suggest is we have to entertain develop a sensible program of bringing in foreign workers. We see quite a number of them here in Gander at the various Tim Hortons and McDonald's and so on. I don't see any other solution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheldon?
Well, like Oz just said, I mean, we have a compounded issue of CERB. Yes, absolutely, it needs to go away. And we have an extremely low unemployment rate in Gander, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing in that, you know, there's lots of work in Gander, but it's a bad thing that we cannot no longer get any more workers in Gander. I was actually talking to someone this morning, and they are looking down the road of immigration to bring in workers to be able to work in some of the areas. We don't want to see doors closed, so I mean, we need to have a look at a lot of different avenues to make that from happening.
Thank you, Sheldon. Tara, you're last.
Just further to what Oz and Sheldon commented on, CERB, while there are people out there, there's families out there who really need CERB. I'm wondering if there's a partnership to be had between the provincial and federal governments whereby instead of CERB, it could be wage subsidies to get people back to work. It's no good for people to be sitting home. Their mental health suffers, their physical health suffers, and obviously, the economy suffers.
Thank you. All right, next question.
Thanks, Anna. Oz, we have heard of the shortage of town-owned land for commercial and residential developments here. How will you ensure that there's land available to accommodate the availability of commercial and residential land for future growth within the town of Gander's boundaries?
One of the things that people have to realize in this town, the airport surrounds us. And of course, we have Gander Lake in front of us. So it's very, very short of land that we do have. Our council right now has gone to tender to expand the Dickens Street area to open up some more commercial land. But we're going to have to deal with the airport and federal government and see if we can get some of that land that does surround us released. We cannot grow anymore unless we have the land, the commercial land. We've been talking about expanding our industrial park or looking for a second industrial park. We have been approached by a business person saying they're looking at creating a second industrial park for us. So somewhere along the line, we're going to have to sit down with the feds and let's get this done. And that's the only thing we can do.
Thank you, Oz. Wilson.
Thanks again. I think that we need to work with the Airport Authority and with the federal government to see if there's a divestiture of land that could take place and be transferred to the town of Gander. Even leasing the land from the Airport Authority, which, as we know, there's quite a few businesses now that have leased the land from the Airport Authority, and some of them find that very, very economical. Certainly we need additional space for business, and we need an atmosphere that business would come here and be profitable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheldon.
It's probably the toughest question I've been faced with tonight. Oz had a great, great answer. Can't go east, can't go west. Can we go up? I don't have the answer to this question. I know that we are running out of land here in Gander, and the other departments are going to have to look into it. But quite honestly, I don't have an answer for that one.
All right, thank you.
Again, I have to share Oz's. We've got nowhere to go. We have the federal land that we need to work out and acquire for not only for businesses, we need industrial land, commercial land, residential. We've got developers on the cusp of developing new infrastructure. They want to come into Gander, but we have limited space for them to go. So in order for Gander to grow commercially, we got to get that land off the feds.
Thank you, Tara. Pat.
The easy answer is ditto, because I think it's already been said. But the only way that I think Gander can expand right now is to the northwest. There is land northwest, but it's owned by the provincial government. So this is where we need to start. The airport's got great commercial land out there. On the Trans-Canada Highway to the west, there's great commercial land. Northwest, there's great residential land. We need to work with developers and the government to acquire this land and get it developed.
All right, thanks. Otis.
I must be missing something here. You're above Gander, and it's a tiny little town, and all the land that surrounds it, if it's federal land, if it's provincial land, and it means development for Gander, we just got to lobby those levels of government to release land for future development. It's pretty simple. We can't make land, it's there, and have the responsible people make it available to the Gander for future expansion.
Thank you, Otis. Gina.
It's not simple necessarily to get the land. We're aware that it's there, but trying to get it is certainly an issue. So what do we do with what's existing? Well, one of the things is that we could look at the flexibility of the zoning so that we can move either from commercial to industrial land with what we have. For residential, it would be increasing the density, whether it's medium density or high density. And we have some flexibility in more town-owned land to look at making it so that the regulations are in place to allow contractors to make it affordable to do so.
All right, we'll end with Bettina.
Thanks. I think this particular issue just speaks to how reliant Gander is on the provincial government, the federal government, and the relationships that we have with those departments in trying to make things happen. So while on the surface it may appear quite easy, the steps that need to be taken, the lobbying, the adjustments, the advocacy, the proposing solutions and looking at different ways of doing things, I think it's issues like that where we need a council full of leaders who are willing to establish those relationships with respect and work with people to make this stuff happen.
Thank you. All right, next question.
Thanks, Hannah. Otis, I got kind of a two-part question. I know, right? Do you believe the town of Gander has done enough to ensure it operates within its budget? And what would you do to maximize productivity to make sure that we do operate within our budget?
Well, I would hope that Gander works within its budget, but I think that's a question that's better posed to the people who have been here for the last 4 years. Certainly, if I were elected, I would want Gander to stay within budget and keep taxes in line and affordable for all residents. You know, that would be my point. I think we're legislated to live within budget, so live within budget, you know. That's my simple answer for it. The second part?
Just what would you do to make sure that we do live within our means, basically?
Well, as I said, if elected, then certainly we'd have to look at the budget structure to have a strategic plan moving forward in terms of what the issues, what the needs are in Gander, and not be reactive. We had to be proactive in spending our money and not reacting to issues as they come up. We need to set a path, and we need to follow it and stay on budget.
Thank you, Otis. All right, Gina, you're up first this time.
During budget time, this is first and foremost what we do. We look at where we are, where we're going, and making sure that things stay in budget. And council tasks our administration to make sure that they're checking everything and making sure that everything is going. They come back to us quarterly. They let us know where it is. So we really keep an eye on things. And secondly is to work as effective and as efficiently as possible with the organizational review. That's been something we've been very adamant to make sure that we keep in line.
Thank you. Bettina.
I guess really in terms of budget, it's a couple of things that, are we budgeting too much and stretching ourselves too far? And then when we do have that budget, can we live within it? So a couple of pieces to that. But in terms of efficiency, the KPMG report that Council commissioned, to me, appeared to have some really good recommendations about efficiencies at Town Hall, looking for synergies, ways that departments could be working better together, and workloads and accountability. So I think with that 65% being implemented, we're on a good start.
Thank you. Oz?
Well, every year, budget time, we have all of our department heads come in with their budget. We go over it line by line. We look at everything that they bring to us. We make sure that it's money being well spent. We're not just buying for the sake of buying. We're not doing for just the sake of doing. It's a need that the community has, so we try and fulfill it. And we go over every line. And that's, to me, that's what it is.
Thank you. Wilson.
Thanks again. I think that council and the administration has to review each and every year the financial aspect, all the financial aspects of the town. I went through and read in detail the KPMG report, which made a lot of recommendations. Some of these recommendations have been implemented already. Some others, I'm sure, will be duly considered. I think that's a process ongoing, and really, the devil is always in the detail. You get a recommendation, you get the details, and then you make up your mind. So,
thank you. Sheldon.
If I didn't think that this town was being fiscally responsible, I wouldn't be sitting where I am here right now. I think that town has done a good job with their budget. I don't think we're overspending. Our infrastructure is good. Our roads could do with a little bit of work, but that'll come in time. But we look at our equipment and everything that's around town that's clearing our roads, that's taking care of our, roads and grounds and everything. I think we're in good shape. And I don't think we're overspending. I think we're good.
All right, Tara.
Budgets are mandated by municipal affairs, and we're bound by the Municipalities Act to live within our means and be on budget. So one of the things that we have done is the KPMG report. There's 65% of that report, the recommendations have been implemented. And we've done that in-house because some of the recommendations we could have taken outside. It would have cost the taxpayers a whole lot more. But we've redesigned, we've revamped, we've seen synergies and alignments, and we've saved money.
Thank you. Pat.
As Tara hinted at, our municipal budget is done and balanced and presented to the government for final approval. And we'll start that process in October. Whenever we have any changes to the budget or something new comes up, the question that always gets asked is, where's the money coming from? Is it outside of our spending thresholds and our limits? So that's a very important question. And if that question cannot be answered and we cannot find the money, then we cannot proceed with the projects. But it's on this existing council, I've noticed that we've been very diligent in balancing our budget and working within it.
All right, thank you. All right, last question from the panel.
Thanks, Hannah. Wilson. Gander is a relatively new town, and historically there has been pride in the appearance of the town. Now there are derelict buildings which are not only an eyesore, but some are a safety hazard. What will you do to ensure the buildings are removed or repaired?
Well, first of all, I think as council, you have responsibility for safety. And if these buildings that we're talking about are safety hazards, then the appropriate orders for demolition have to be issued. It sounds simple, and I know there have been demolition orders, I think, that were being considered and maybe were challenged that maybe got overturned. Buildings up in the neighborhood shopping center, for example, are a disgrace to everything here in the town. Got to be dealt with, and I'm sure there's something in the works on that. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Sheldon, we'll start with you this time.
You know, that question in itself, I mean, we were talking about it today. Some of the areas in town, in particular, they are in bad shape. Safety issues, the town needs to be on top of that. But, you know, there's only so much that we can do. We can't swing the ball ourselves. We can't knock those buildings down. We have to make sure that those areas are safe. But, you know, within our policies and, you know, in our Municipalities Act, we have to be able to look at the ways to make sure that our town is kept tidy, make sure that those areas are taken care of.
Thank you. Tara?
I think one of the things that need to happen is the appeals board. The appeals board needs to be more effective. They do their job, but the end result is appeal after appeal after appeal. We've sent out demolition orders, and landlords have gone to the appeals board, they've upheld it, gone to the Supreme Court, they've upheld it, and nobody seems to have any power to actually get the job done. That's a real problem for us.
Thank you, Tara. Pat?
I think the issue is more than aesthetics. It's a health and safety issue. There's buildings in this town that are so derelict, pigeons, I don't even know if the pigeons go there anymore. We've got buildings in this town that our fire chief has ordered the fire department not to enter in case they catch on fire because they're not safe. You approach the owners of the buildings and they don't want to tear them down. This is where we got to start. We got to get the owners of these buildings to buy into a municipal plan which says we want to beautify our town. We do all we can.
Thank you. Otis?
Derelict buildings are definitely unsafe, unsightly, and I'm sure not generating much tax for the town. So I think you have to look at individual issues there. Are people not paying, taxes? If they're not paying taxes, then we'd take action to seize the property, put a lien on the property, or whatever we could do. Obviously, the town's tried a number of things and are meeting with roadblocks, but we need to, persist and take care of this problem.
Thank you. Gina?
It's definitely a priority of council. We've recognized it, we've explored it, we've tried to do within our power to see what we can do to make differences. As Tara was mentioning, when you're dealing with appeal courts and the legal system, things become slowed down. I want to give a big shout out to our civic enhancement, our volunteers group who are going around and doing their utmost to beautify this town and add an element that unfortunately we may not be able to deal with.
Thank you. Bettina?
Hi, thanks. Yeah, it has come up in discussion with several people throughout the campaign, specific to some neighbourhoods as well, and the eyesore in those neighbourhoods. I know that council has made some significant efforts through the processes that are in place. Someone explained to me about the lien process on buildings, and where liens have been taken out and passed from one owner to another owner to another owner, and the legalities of all of that. But I mean, there has to be a better way, right? There has to be.
Thank you. All right, Oz, we'll end with you.
The legal part of it, and I've been involved with this before in my previous life. Once it gets into the court system, especially now with the COVID, it's going to take, it's taking not months. We've been into a couple of years with some of these buildings that are around town. There's not much, our hands are tied. We go after these individuals, we issue the warnings, we issue the tickets, and then it starts from there. And it's almost impossible. You have to wait for the courts to do it. We're looking for more powers through the Municipalities Act to take care of it, but right now we don't have it.
All right, thank you. All right, well, that brings us to the end of our panelist question. We're going to take a short station break, and then when we come back, we're going to hear from the audience with their questions. So we'll see you soon. Welcome back to the Gander Municipal Election Councillors Forum for 2021. We will now go to audience questions. So the audience member I'll call, they'll ask the question to a specific candidate, and then we'll do the same thing. We'll go around, and you'll each get 30 seconds as well to respond. So we're going to start with Rexine's question.
This question is for Sheldon. Sheldon, as the wife of somebody who uses Gander Airport quite...
Can you take your
Okay, sorry. As a wife of somebody who uses the airport quite often, we are extremely concerned about the quality and the quantity of the flights coming into Gander Airport. It's now gotten much more efficient for him to fly into Deer Lake. Therefore, the businesses are losing money that they could be making with the flights too. Is this something you would address when you get on council, and how?
So there's a multi-pronged approach, I feel, to this issue. Yeah, air travel is down, and we project that air travel is going to be expensive once it resumes full-blown. Gander's had a what's called the just give me 1 second. Regional Innovation System for Aerospace and Defense. And it's all part of a bigger picture of the way aerospace things need to happen in Gander. And I think that there's good benefits that could come for the airport as well. We need to look at economic solutions for the area as well. We know that there are going to be economic successes coming up. We certainly hope that there are going to be economic successes coming up. More business, more people coming into town. This is what we're certainly hoping for. As a direct solution right now, I think it's going to be a while before we see air travel back to what we saw it before, unfortunately.
All right, thank you, Sheldon. Tara, 30
Hi,
seconds.
Rexine. The mayor, on behalf of council, has participated in high-level discussions with Air Canada as well as other carriers. One of the things that was identified is that, sometimes Gander is more expensive to fly than, say, St. John's. So people gravitate to St. John's, but what we have to do is work with the airport authority and the air carriers to make Gander more viable. And by doing so, hopefully, we'll get more passenger traffic. Therefore, the flights will increase. But we have to get out of the mindset of going to Deer Lake and St. John's. That's not going to work.
Thank you, Tara. Pat.
I'd like to say Tara stole my answer, but she had a great answer because we've discussed it. It's been on the radar of the town council now for quite some time, especially coming out of the pandemic. After spending 30 plus years working at the airport, I understand the value that's up there at that airport. I would like to see more aircraft flying in and out of there every day. What we can do as councillors, we can only petition the airlines. They're independent businesses, and if they want to come, they'll come. But we're doing that right now.
Thank you, Pat. Otis.
Like Pat, I spent over 30 years working at the airport. And the federal government's put an awful lot of money into airlines across Canada, Air Canada, and other airlines to keep them afloat. Now, it's incumbent upon the airlines to provide service to the communities that are out there demanding service. Now, we traditionally have been our own worst enemies in Gander in that we're not flying Gander the way we should be. We're using, like Tara said, Deer Lake, St. John's, and anywhere else that has a cheap flight. So we need to be able to get our fare structure in line with St. John's and Deer Lake.
Thank you.
Promote Gander and fly Gander.
All right, Gina.
As already has been said, lobbying is a huge aspect of what council can do to help the airport. The other part is just what we can do to improve the health of the airport. Helping them in leveraging funding opportunities. One of the things that the airport is looking at now is the redevelopment and the refurbishment of the airport. So once again, lobbying that so that it becomes sustainable as they deal with downsizing, and as well looking at really emphasizing Gander as an aerospace hub.
Thank you. Bettina?
Yes, thank you. I have a lot of confidence in the management at Gander International Airport Authority and in the volunteer board of directors who are serving on that board and making decisions. And as the CEO once said to me, you know, his job is putting bums in seats. Right? So I see they're delivering services from a customer service perspective, and then as municipal leaders, we're really the ones who need to be lobbying and advocating and connecting and really pressuring and making a case for increased flights and services, working with the airport authority to make that happen.
Thank you. Oz?
I think it just goes back to the old economics, supply and demand. If the demand is there, and I'll look right at the camera and say the people out there as well as people in here, if you're going to fly, fly Gander. If the demand is there, the airlines will look. But right now, if we're going to drive to St. John's thinking we're going to save money, we're not when you add in gas, hotels, meals, everything else. So fly Gander. And Reg says it all the time, the airport manager, fly Gander.
Thank you. Wilson?
Thank you. I agree with Oz that you can't make people fly out of Gander. If they can save $100 sometimes, they'll drive to St. John's and think they're saving money. But I think if you work collaboratively with the airlines and have the development, hopefully, of a policy of equal pricing, reasonable pricing, that makes all the difference in the world. And believe me, don't get on the phone and try to make reservations with an airline. I just went through it this week, and it's enough to tear the rest of my hair. Like it's all gone now, pretty well. It's very, very frustrating. I mean, they pass you from one to another, and nobody seems to know what they're doing.
Thank you. All right. Our next audience question is from Lori Moulton.
This is a question for Bettina. So inclusion is more than bricks and mortar, more than affordable housing, more than accessible buildings, even though those things are very important. How would you ensure that people with intellectual disabilities and/or mental health and addiction struggles are welcomed and flourish in this community so they reach their full potential?
Right. Thanks. That's a really important question, and I don't quite know how to do it justice in 1 minute. I will say I had a conversation this week with someone who I really respect, who works in mental health and addictions and homelessness. And, you know, she said to me, she found that trying to raise awareness and elevate that discussion in a community that is fairly affluent is a challenge. And if we don't recognize that these are issues, you know, we don't see people sleeping on the streets, we might not see people panhandling for change, we might not see people having a psychotic breakdown, you know, if they don't travel in our circles. And when you don't see it, it's hard to recognize it as an issue to even begin looking for solutions. There are a lot of volunteer organizations and government departments. I know the province, I think, is about to come out with a well-being strategy to help address some of these needs. So it's definitely going to take a community effort.
Thank you, Bettina. Oz, we'll start with you for the 30 seconds.
I'll just add on to what Bettina was saying. If you don't see it, it's not there, and that's the problem that we're facing. People don't see what's going on, and again, in my previous life, I did. I knew what was going on, and it's got to be acceptance of the community. We can't do it on ourselves. Council can't do it. The whole community has to get behind it. We've been trying very hard to get that done, but again, in 30 seconds, impossible for me to go through everything that we're working on. Thank you. Wilson?
Mental health, ladies and gentlemen, is a much bigger problem than most of us acknowledge. It affects many, many, many families. I think it goes back to my original comments. We need the development in Gander of centers of excellence, and mental health is an ideal setting to start developing. You have to work with the medical professionals, and I know there was a mental health facility along with other facilities planned for Gander. I'm not quite sure what happened to it, but it should be looked at again. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilson. Sheldon, you're up.
Yeah, it's once again kind of hard to follow up from Bettina and us, and yeah, it's a discussion that would have to happen over long periods of time. It is a big problem. Mental health is a big problem. It affects all of us. We have a lot of community organizations that can certainly help out in these areas, and we need to leverage those organizations, but open discussion, open forums, and council can pioneer, lead those discussions, and certainly try to help in the area.
Thank you, Sheldon. Tara.
As a member of the Community Advisory Board on Housing and Homelessness, when I first got elected to council, I didn't realize until I joined that group what the problems were. You don't see them on the street. You don't know they're there. You don't know that there's people, sleeping in cars and in car lots. You don't know there's people sleeping in laundry rooms in apartment buildings. You don't see it. So therefore, in your mind, it doesn't exist. But until I got on council, I had no idea. So I think awareness is a huge issue, and that way council and the residents of Gander can work together.
Thank you. Pat.
Thank you. That's a really, really good question. I was talking to a gentleman just the other day, as I've been going around knocking on doors, and he's ex-military, and he suffers from PTSD. And he asked me, he said, what can you do as a counselor? He said, to stop fireworks, residential fireworks. He said, it goes off 3-4 times a year behind my house. He said, it frightens the life out of me. I crawl under the bed. There's so much into your question that it cannot possibly be done justice in 30 seconds. But as a council, we're certainly open to looking at it, looking at all avenues, and doing our best to resolve it.
Thank you, Pat. Otis.
Yeah, I think that everybody sort of outlined the issue there. It's not visible in the community, and most of us are in denial in terms of what's happening here. Issues like with affordable housing, health care, outreach centers, things like that need to be in the community to help people out with issues such as those. My hat is off to everybody who works in healthcare, who assist people that are troubled, and I guess the rest of us are kind of oblivious to what's going on, and it needs to change.
Thank you. We'll end with you, Gina.
I think it's great to discuss it. First of all, dealing with the stigma associated, especially with mental health. Normalize it. We're all affected by it. We all have loved ones. I think that's extremely important to have the discussions. Obviously, going to the experts, deal with the people who are on the ground working with individuals so that they can explain what they need from us and see what we can do as a council to work with them and help them. But discussion first and foremost to make people aware.
Thank you so much. All right, up next from the audience, we have Gerald Saunders.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to comment and thank all of you who've put their name on the ballot to run as councillors. Been there, done that. But this is one of the best slates of candidates that I've seen in my 55-year-old love affair with this town. I'd like to direct this one to Bettina. We have 8 candidates running, 3 females and 5 of the other crowd. We have a great opportunity to have a gender equal representation of councillors. How important, Bettina, do you think that it is to strive to have gender equity on our council?
Well, thank you, Gerald, for that. Gerald nominated me for council, and I did not expect that at all this evening. I'm serious.
Yeah.
So, I do think it's very important. I mean, generally for me, I would like to see all structures that people associate with power or authority to be representative of the population. So if that's women, if that's people with different sexuality, people of different color, people with different backgrounds, people of different ages. So that would be my hope, that all government structures and leadership in communities, so that people in the community can look and see, these are my leaders and I'm reflected in that. I mean, I don't know, my 14-year-old thinks women running the world would not work in his favor. So I guess maybe we'll give it a try with 3 and 3 and see how that goes. I think I'm a bit too tough on my 14-year-old, perhaps. That's how that came up. But I think it is really exciting, the prospect to see for the first time ever that we may have, and we've had strong female municipal representatives in the past, Hazel Newhook, to name one, and Sandra Kelly and Bonnie Pritchett. So, you know, it's an exciting time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we'll go around again. We'll start with you again, Oz.
I'd like to say one thing is that we were, as a Town of Gander Municipal Police Department, the first municipal police department in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador to hire a female officer. And I think that trend has gone on since then. I know I've been on council now for 4 years, and we have 2 of the ladies here that is on council, and let me tell you something, I'm so proud to be able to work with these ladies. They've contributed so much, and they've helped me. They've kept me in line, in other words, is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you.
Yes, I think it would be great.
Wilson.
Well, I think gender equity is definitely part of our life today. To suggest that any committee should be comprised of all male or all female is just not acceptable. And I think both male and female bring a different perspective to the table and should definitely be considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Sheldon.
You know, the prospects of going into a council with 3 women is I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting a chair with you guys. I know you can always reach me. But have a look around this room. Right now, the chair of the Gander and Area Chamber of Commerce, Hannah DeYoung, strong woman. The CEO of the Gander and Area Chamber of Commerce, Hazel Bishop, strong woman. These 3 women that are sitting here in these seats here right now, I guarantee you the force is strong with these 3 here. So I'm looking really forward to being able to work with all these women around. And I mean, I've worked with women in the chamber, and when I consult with anyone of the,
Thank you. Tara.
I need another 20 minutes.
Tara, over to you.
When you're out on the campaign trail, people will say to me, I'm voting for you because you're a woman. And I'm proud to say that I'll accept your vote, but vote for me because I'm going to do my job, that you believe in me, not just because I'm a woman. Am I proud to be in the company of these ladies? Absolutely. But you know what? The guys around the table are doing a fantastic job as well.
Thank you. Pat.
4 years ago when I was elected, one of the first things I noticed was the 2 ladies left and right of me here, not you, Otis, on council. And I was, to say the least, I was really, really impressed. What they brought to the table was amazing. Now I see Bettina stepping up, and I'm even more impressed. So the possibility of having 3 women sitting around a council chamber, I think it's great. I think it's really good. They bring a whole new perspective. Their educational experience, their backgrounds, amazing. Bring it on.
Thank you. Otis.
Well, I can't disagree with what anybody said. Both women and men bring a unique perspective to government, to life, to everything in general. So the town would be well served, I guess, with equal representation from both men and women on the council.
Thank you. Gina, we'll end with you.
I'd love to reiterate what Tara mentioned and Bettina as well. I think having qualified people on council is imperative, and I think gender equity is also imperative. I think when you're looking at any decision on council, diversity and various backgrounds are so important, because it's only through having the different perspectives and everybody voicing them that you can come to a decision that's the most fair, the most knowledgeable. So I think it's wonderful to see. It only took us, 55 years to have gender equity, if we get all three?
All right, so we have our last audience question from Niall Tucker.
I would like to direct this question toward Mrs. Brown. If you were elected as councillor of the town of Gander, how would you expand youth services in our great community?
Excellent question, and thank you for coming to talk about politics, because there's not many young people who would do so, so congratulations on that. We recognize that it's extremely important. One of the very first things that we did was we had a youth advisory committee drawn up, and that's so people of various ages but represent what you think is important to you. And it's always been important anytime we have a member of our youth in the community come forward with ideas or so on, that we're very open to hear, because your perspective and how you see things is extremely important. And looking at programming opportunities that we have, as well as recreational facilities that we're doing, we have the new soccer track, we have the new senior family park, we have upgrades to the ball fields, like all of these things, so that individuals, regardless of financial backgrounds, can make sure that they get involved in the community and stay healthy.
Thank you, Gina. Bettina.
Hi. I feel very proud of the facilities and infrastructure that is available. If you have two children, 10 and 14, who tell you that they're bored, and you find yourself listing out all the things there are to do in Gander, it gives you a good appreciation. But I think that council needs to be really nimble and responsive, because interests change, right? So the skateboard park might be really hot one year and everyone is into BMXing and skateboarding, and then 3 years later everyone is into pickleball, right? So I think just being responsive and willing to kind of shift a little when need be.
Thank you. Oz?
I think it just goes back to listening to the needs of the youth in the town. I know I've gotten a call from a parent saying my son doesn't play hockey, doesn't play softball, he doesn't go swimming, he doesn't do this, but what he is into is the gaming systems. And for here in Gander, we don't have a place like that. So she was saying if we were going to build a multiplex, if we're going to service all the youth in town, we have to service those too. And I think that it's just listening to what the youth has to say.
Thank you, Oz. Wilson?
I certainly agree that serving the needs of our up-and-coming adults is very important. We need to know what their needs are and make the budgetary allocations to try and solve them. The skateboard park is great, the walking trails are great, but the needs change, the kids change, and what they wanted to do 5 years ago, the new batch coming up in that age level don't want to do that. So we have to be responsive to their needs and address them.
Thank you, Wilson. Sheldon, over to you.
You know what was really cool about that question? The fact that you were able to come and stand up in this forum and ask us all about that. I think that was really awesome. And you know, it's kids like you are an integral part of making these solutions, providing activities for you guys, you know, finding out what it is that you want in this town. I mean, we can go stick up buildings till the cows come home. We need to know from you, what do you want from us? What do you want from us as a council? And we'll work our darnest to make it happen.
Thank you,
Thanks
Sheldon.
for the question.
Tara?
Thank you for that question, young man. And I was a part of the Youth Advisory Committee before my role changed. And one of the things that we did was had somebody on the board your age, obviously, because only you can speak to what you need and your peers. So as a part of council, we would like to continue that dialogue, because me as a 52-year-old woman, I don't know what a 14-year-old young boy would like to do day in and day out. Today it's a skateboard park. Tomorrow it could be basketball. It could be participating in Geek Fest. Who knows, right? But we need to hear from you.
Thank you, Tara. Pat?
I'm also impressed that you stood up, because when I was your age, I wasn't standing up in front of a group like this and asking questions, let me tell you. But 4 years ago when I got on council, we had a position on our council, and a lady used to sit in our chamber, and I don't know whatever happened to it, but you made me think about it. It was a youth advisory person there. And their role was to go back to people your age and talk to them, and then come back and tell us as councillors what was going on and what you wanted. And we're missing that. And I promise you, if I get elected, we're going to try and get that back on council.
Thank you, Pat. All right, Otis, we'll end with you.
Well, the voice of youth is very important. I remember as a child in Gander, we needed a youth center. And we lobbied and collected money for years to get that youth center up and running. It's a building right over here somewhere now. So I fully support providing services to young people in the community. And I'm still very much a kid at heart. I golf, I ski, I play hockey, I do everything that's available in the community. And there's so many things out there for old and young alike. And it's great that you asked the question. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Otis. All right, well, thank you to the audience for participating with those great questions. That brings us to closing remarks. So this time, we're going to go in reverse order from opening remarks. So we will start with Wilson, and you'll each get 1 minute to convince the voters why we should vote for you. So we'll start with you, Wilson.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, taxpayers of Gander, our future is bright. My belief is that by creating good infrastructure in our roads, recreational facilities, arts, parks, and other areas, we will prosper and attract new residents and business to our town. We must fight like hell to maintain and enhance our regional hospital and Gander International Airport. Give our support and work in a collaborative manner with them and all for the betterment of all. Develop a plan to promote scientific research so we can develop centers of excellence in areas that may very well be outside our present thinking, i.e. medical, aircraft, recreation, and other fields. Think outside the box. I share JFK's quote, "Some see things as they are and ask why. I dream of things that never were and ask why not." I've garnered skills and experience in municipal councils, nonprofit organizations, business, hotels, buildings, construction. I believe these skills and experiences will enable me to work for you in a more effective and efficient manner.
Thank you.
I humbly ask for your support. Help me to help you. Vote Hoff.
Thank you, Wilson. Oz, over to you.
It's been an honor to serve you as your counselor for the last 4 years. Over that time, we've been able to accomplish so much. And for example, is the FIFA-sized soccer field and 8-lane track, upgrades to the basketball, hockey courts, dog park upgrades, new fire truck, accessible playground equipment, working with companies that wanted to set up business here in town, such as Newfound Gold. There's so much more. But for the next 4 years, I will be focusing on working with local business to attract new business and industry. The hospital, it's under attack. Policing, more officers, more coverage. Continue to work closely with the mining industry, make sure major benefits come to this town, keeping in mind the environment. To continue to support our airport and our military. Fiscal responsibility, and I see you looking at me, so I'm done. Vote Oz.
Thank you, Oz. Bettina.
Hi, so I'd just like to thank my husband, Kevin Scott, and children, Joseph and Robert, and my mother and father, Betty and Art Ford, for their encouragement, and my nominators, Gerald Saunders and Gloria Cody. My professional background, and I guess this is like the interview now, where I have to tell you some good things about myself and what I bring to the table. My professional background is in nonprofit governance, community development, and volunteer management. I am receptive to new ways of doing things. I ask good questions and I listen. I'm a respectful person with a reputation for working well with others, even when we might disagree. Serving on council takes commitment, and it can be a tough grind to balance the needs of the community while protecting the interest of taxpayers. I mean, being on council literally requires a sworn oath of office. The fiduciary responsibilities are huge, managing a $19 million budget and services for over 13,000 people. So just fundamentally, I want to make Gander to be an easy and enjoyable place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Bettina. Gina.
Thank you. Our community is now facing a pivotal point in our history as the province is forced to restructure government services due to increasing financial constraints, especially in the health services, as amazing new economic opportunities present themselves, particularly in the business community, the mining industry, and aerospace and aviation. Environmental considerations must be addressed as part of its growth. We have to look at town debt. We consider pressing needs for affordable housing. We consider new recreational facilities and opportunities, and we build capacity for our future economically and socially, and so much more. And all of this needs to be done through a lens of diversity, creativity, and proactivity. I ask you to consider voting for me, and I offer nothing better than my best.
Thank you, Gina. Otis, over to you.
Thank you for the opportunity to attend this debate. It's my first time as a candidate for council. To date, I have visited approximately 1,500 homes, and many people tell me they want to change on council. While going door to door, I met two young families who were in the process of moving to Gander, and they were very excited about the prospect of living here. We need to promote Gander as a great place to live, with many recreational facilities, services, and opportunities for outdoor adventures, and to encourage other young families like them to move to Gander. As councillor, I will commit to stimulating the economy, attracting new business, promoting the airport, protecting health care, and create jobs while keeping taxes in check. On September 28th, vote Otis Warren for council. Thank you.
Thank you, Otis. Pat, your turn.
Over the past few weeks, I've spoken with hundreds, if not thousands, of Gander residents who have raised many issues important to them, issues such as the protection of the James Payton Memorial Hospital, the physician shortage, continued commitment to Gander's recreation facilities, protection of green spaces, affordable housing, and last but not least, the sustainability of our airport. I want every citizen of Gander to know that their concerns are my concerns. I will ensure that these issues and many others that are before our town are brought to the council table, and I will work hard on your behalf to find solutions. My door will always be open to discuss all issues, no matter how big or small. Residents can count on me to be accountable and an accessible councillor. I will bring a smart and energetic approach. I will always be guided by values of honesty and integrity in everything I do. It would be an honor and a privilege to continue to serve you on the Gander Town Council. On September 28th, I respectfully ask for you to vote Pat Woodford. Let me continue to be the strong voice you need and deserve. Together, we will get things done. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Tara.
Thank you. I just wanted to end off tonight by saying my commitment to Gander is unwavering. I've served on many boards, such as the Community Advisory Board on Housing and Homelessness, Integrated Service Delivery Board through CYN and Choices for Youth, the Gander Heritage Advisory Committee, and Nine Wing Council. I've chaired the Ride for Sight and the Festival of Flight for 2018 and 2019, and I'm the current chair of the 2024 Newfoundland and Labrador Winter Games. My past 4 years on council have been both rewarding and challenging, but as they say, nothing good comes easy. It requires hard work, dedication, and commitment. I believe Gander has done relatively well considering the challenges we have faced and will continue to face. I hope to be a part of a team steering our beautiful Gander in a positive and progressive direction. Gander is poised to be a leader in the mining industry, bringing much-needed jobs and economic growth. As we have seen in the last 18 months, Gander is vulnerable, and we must be open to new opportunities. On September 28th, I respectfully ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Sheldon, we'll end with you.
So this is me, the guy with the ugly orange campaign signs. I can be lighthearted. I can bring on a serious, fierce passion. Today I stand in front of you, or actually sit, I guess, in front of you with fierce passion for this town and our rich history. As a business owner and past chair of the Gander and Area Chamber of Commerce, I have an understanding of our business community and the work that needs to be done to ensure the success of our local businesses, as well as provide a welcoming atmosphere for any businesses wishing to come to Gander. I've been involved in the aerospace industry with the Regional Innovation System for Aerospace and Defense. Gander is the center of excellence for aerospace for Newfoundland, and I would like to push the boundaries to make aerospace in Gander the best that this island can offer. I recognize the shortfalls in the healthcare and stand strong to advocate for healthcare for our residents. I have a lot of jet fuel in my engines. This is my time to get involved. And if you vote for Sheldon, you'll say, yes, boy, that fellow with the ugly orange signs, he's all right.
Thank you. All right, well, that brings us to the end of our debate. This has been a very informative, interesting, and I think I can speak for everyone when I say inspirational. Thank you to our candidates for the fantastic debate, and to everyone who submitted questions, who tuned in to watch, and of course to our in-person audience. On behalf of the Chamber and our partner with Rogers TV, I wish all of the candidates the very best next week on Election Day. Many thanks to Roger Robertson and his Rogers TV crew for a successful live program, and to the Evangel Church and staff for their support in making tonight happen. This program is being aired live, as you can just tell by my continued stutters, but it will be continued to be aired throughout the week leading up to the election. The election is next Tuesday, September 28th, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. right here in the Evangel Church. For further information, please contact the Town Hall at 651-5900 or contact any of the candidates you heard from tonight. Thank you so much and have a good evening.
you have a comment about this program, we'd love to hear it. Email or call us, or send us your feedback through social media.
At St. John Ambulance, we're all about community. We teach life-saving skills and provide community support through our volunteer services. All St. John Ambulance product sales and training registrations support these important services. Volunteer, donate, or enroll in a program today so we can continue to have an impact on our community. Visit sja.ca to learn more. At St. John Ambulance, we do more than save lives, we change lives.
Let's kick the tires and fight some fires! Motorcycle deploy! This is what we do. No city's too big, no pup's too small.
What I feel for you, it's so weird.
Are you trying to say you love me?
I'm trying to say I sort of love you.
It isn't the heavy trays that make the job difficult, or the fast pace you need to keep up. It's not working another double because someone called in sick. What makes the job tough is the moment you realize a customer has had enough and you have to make that decision not to overserve. Refusing service isn't personal, it's the law. We know it's not easy, but we're counting on you to keep us all safe. Thank you, servers, for doing the tough job.
From all of us here at Heart Matters, we want to wish every mom out there a very happy Mother's Day, and we hope that each mother can understand how incredibly important they are. We have a special show lined up today where we'll hear from a variety of mothers, all in different seasons of motherhood. We're also thrilled to have special guest Pastor C.N. Heath sharing some thoughts in this week's To The Point segment. And finally, we want to welcome Noah Hamilton to the stage as today's musical guest. We are so glad that you could join us here today. Enjoy the show.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Twas grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. Whoa, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved The rest, like me, I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was blind, but now I see.
I'm Megan Canning. I'm 29 years old, and I'm a new mom. Robert and I have been married for 6 years now, and our son was born in September. Robert and I had decided maybe around 2 years ago that we had the desire to start growing our family. So I remember lying in bed one night, and I had planned on taking a pregnancy test the next morning, and I was lying in bed just so anxious, and when 2 a.m. came, I was still awake, and I said, this is it, I've got to get up. So I got up and I took the test, and it was positive. We were both so excited. So of course then the planning started. It was real, and we were thinking 9 months from now we're gonna have a baby, and it really started to hit home. I went into labor 3 days after my due date, and actually everything went really smoothly for the first 12 hours or so, and then it came time to push, and that's when things started to go downhill a little bit. So after pushing for several hours, the baby just was not in the right position to come. The baby was in distress, his heart rate started dropping, and the decision was made to do an emergency C-section. My sister-in-law took him, and she held him next to my face, and I started talking to him, and he stopped crying. It's like he knew my voice already, and that was a really special moment. I talked to him for probably 10 minutes, and he just looked at me and listened, and I told him, how much he was loved and how we'd waited for him. 8 pounds, 12 ounces. He was perfectly healthy, and he did great. He was a trooper. And maybe 6 hours after my C-section, I started going downhill. I received multiple blood transfusions very quickly, and I was taken in for a second surgery. So thankfully the second surgery went well, and I was able to get back to my room and enjoy the baby. It was a long recovery after that. After 5 days in the hospital, we were able to bring the baby home, and even though I wasn't feeling great, that was still a really good day. My mom stayed with us every night in the hospital, and she stayed with us for 3 weeks after the baby was born, and I really needed that. My mom has been a big influence in my life for as long as I can remember. She's a wonderful woman of faith, and she has taught me to trust in God at all times. I'm still learning from her every day.
My name is Lynette Butt. I live in Gander, Newfoundland, where I was born and raised, actually. In 1974, I married my husband, Clayton. We spent most of our lives in full-time ministry with the Pentecostal Assemblies of Newfoundland. We have 4 daughters. Our oldest, Laura Lee, is living in Kansas. She's married, and they have 4 children, Joel and Isaac and Ava and Luke, ranging from 14 down to 5. Melanie is our second. She's living in the Halifax, Dartmouth area. Natalie is our 3rd daughter. She's living in the CBS area. She's married to Chris. They have 2 little boys. Hunter is 4, and Elliot is 7 months. And our youngest, Allison, is living here in Gander. She has Eli, who's 3, and expecting her second baby in June. March 29th, 1977, I first became a mom. And this little bundle was laid in my arms, 4 pounds, 13 and a half ounces. Just, what do I do? Where do I turn? But immediately there was a love that was birthed in my heart. There's nothing to compare it to. It sort of gave me a feeling of just how much God loved me, because I love this little child so much. When Laura Lee was about 10 months of age, we knew there was something not quite right. Couldn't place her finger on it, but we knew there was something. When she was 2, she was diagnosed as being severe to profoundly deaf, and that same day we were told she'd probably never talk and probably never be able to be educated. We went home and we made contacts with the school for the deaf, and for the next 3 years we just enjoyed her. Then when she turned 5, we had to make a decision. At the time we were living in Burlington, Newfoundland on the Bay River Peninsula, about 7 to 8 hours from St. John's. And we had to make a decision. Are we going to keep this little girl in our own little circle? And as you can see to this day, it still brings emotion to me. Came home from Sunday school one Sunday afternoon, and the Sunday school paper, I always read that the afternoon between Sunday school and church. And the story this afternoon was about a mom who had a deaf child, and she struggled with exactly the same thoughts that I struggled with, that I was struggling with at that moment. And she did the right thing. She made sure her child received as much of an education as was humanly possible. And the child grew, married, and the child and the husband became missionaries to the deaf in South America. I can honestly say from that day to this day, I have never once questioned God as to why my daughter was deaf. Struggles, yes, but I never ever questioned again. And Laura Lee grew up, went to school, and graduated from Gallaudet University for the Deaf in Washington, D.C. with a master's in deaf education. It's just amazing, and only God.
Hi, I'm Alyssa, and I'm 34 years